October 2000, I found myself driving down a street, dark, deserted street with abandoned buildings and abandoned cars lining the street to cop some dope. I parked the car, and as I was getting out of the car, my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old, who were in the back, asked me where I was going, and I said I'd be right back. And my oldest said, "Daddy, don't leave us. I'm afraid of the dark." It was in the middle of the night, and this is my favorite place to cop dope because even the police didn't like that street. I walked the block, and I could still hear my children screaming, "Daddy, don't leave us. We're afraid of the dark." I walked 2 more blocks where I couldn't hear them, and I stood on the corner and waited for the dope boy for 30 minutes. I came back to the car, and when I came back to the car, I didn't hear my children crying anymore, and I was like, cool. And I got in the car, and I looked in the back seat, and they were covered in snot and tears, and they were going, they couldn't speak, and they couldn't speak for the whole ride home. I spent another few years doing all sorts of things to cop dope and to feed my addiction. And eventually I abandoned my wife, I abandoned my children, I destroyed my career, and I found myself sitting in a drug rehab with about 10 days clean, and all these memories and all these awarenesses just came like hitting me like a wave. And I didn't know really what to do. I had been coming around here for quite a while, Crossroads. I had checked out some 12-step recovery, and what had happened as a result of coming around these 2 places is I had these men pursuing me aggressively. It was a little freaky, you know. One dude would jog 5 miles to come to my house, and he would drop a note in my mailbox every time he found out that I would disappear for 3 days. And it would have scripture on it, and it would tell me things like that I have worth and that he loves me. And I would be like, you freak, you know. But keep bringing the notes, man, because I need those. And then I jumped into the 12-step recovery, and these men, what I realized is that it was this tribe of warriors, freedom fighters that were fighting for the hopeless and the lost and the broken. I thought they were annoying at first, but that's who they are, and I soon discovered that. And what I did is I found myself being surrounded by like this elite warrior squad. I call them my SEAL 6 team. And they started breathing life into me. They started asking me questions. I started digging into the 12 steps. And there were questions weren't, hey, you know, where'd you cop your dope? You might want to avoid that street, or you shouldn't go to this bar, or you shouldn't do this at this time of day. There were questions like, do you insist on having your own way all the time? Do you take personal challenges in life as personal insults? Do you take things personally? Do you run from relationships when there's a chance for them to be repaired? I was like, what's this have to do with doing dope, man? I don't get this. And so I went on this journey, and I'm growing spiritually, and so I remember I had about like maybe 6 months clean, and I was really struggling. I had 6 months clean, and my wife wasn't trusting me. I wanted the ATM card and the PIN number, and she was like, no, that's not going to happen. And I was like, what the? Got 6 months clean, man. I'm looking pretty good. You can trust me. And then my children, I would drop them off at school or a daycare, and I would tell them I would be there on time this time. I'd pick them up on time, and they would look at me with those disbelieving eyes. And it just broke me, man. And so I was talking to one of my SEAL 6 team guys, Mike, and Mike was talking to me, and I'm like lamenting over all this that's going on. And he, when I was done, he got real quiet, and he said, wow, you're a good dad. And I was like, what? Are you even listening to me? What the heck's wrong with you, man? And he said, Kurt, I've watched where you came from, and I know where you're at, and I'm a part of your story, and I know the heart for your children and your love of God, and you're a great dad. And I was like, man, I don't believe that for myself, but I believe that you believe that, and that's good enough. And so fast forward, today I have 10 years, 8 months, and 5 days clean. Yeah. And although I abandoned my wife, she and I are celebrating 28 years married in August. Yeah. And so I find myself today, in this foxhole on the front line of this epic battle. You know, I don't know if you've heard about it. They started calling this thing a heroin epidemic. And, you know, I've been in this thing for a while. I've been being trained up and spiritually formed to come against this thing with this tribe of warriors. And I'm in this foxhole, and I pop my head up, and they're running this banner across the field that says heroin epidemic. And I was like, well, no, it's an epic battle. I think it started in chapter 3 of Genesis. And we're in this thing. And it may have a different title or different flavor to it. But I get to be a part of this thing. I'm totally qualified to be doing this thing. And so I found it was like 5 years ago, I found this scripture that just, I was like, oh, this is my story. This is where I find myself. I'm in Luke 10, and Luke 10, it says that Jesus sent out 72 disciples, 2 by 2, into the cities and the villages to drive out demons and to heal people, to heal the sick. And they went out into the village, and they came back, and they were all geeked out, you know, full of joy, because they said that even the demons fled in your name. And he told these disciples that they had the power and the authority of Jesus to go trample on snakes and scorpions, and that the enemy would flee from them. So I find myself today with this elite squad, this elite tribe of warriors coming against, in the middle of this epic battle. And what's happened for me is, over the past decade, I've gotten to speak to other men who thought that they were bad dads. And I've been on the other end of the phone saying, you're a great dad. And them saying, well, I don't believe that, but I believe that you believe that. And so I'm really excited about this time in history, American history. We got this heroin epidemic, this epic battle. And there's all these young people who are coming to the end of themselves. They're coming to the same place that I came to prematurely, to become warriors, to come onto the front line and to come against the enemy and to trample it and to step on it and squash it. I'm a part of Crossroads. You're a part of my tribe. You are my tribe. And thank you. Thank you.